teenagers heard their own emotions reflected in the lyrics, while there are songs you remember because they were everywhere. Then there are songs you remember because they were there for you. Not because they topped every chart, not because they won every award, but because they found you at exactly the right moment. Maybe it was a summer evening with the windows rolled down while someone special sat beside you. Maybe it was a slow dance at a family wedding where the world seemed to disappear for just a few minutes. Or maybe it was a quiet night after heartbreak when a voice coming through your speakers somehow understood everything you couldn't put into words. That was the magic of 90s R&B. It wasn't just music, it became part of people's lives. While the biggest hits are still played today, dozens of incredible songs slowly disappeared from radio playlists. There's nothing more They didn't become any less beautiful. They were simply left behind as music changed and new artists took over. Today, we're bringing 10 of those forgotten gems back into the spotlight. And before we reach number 1, you'll hear the story of a song that almost never made it onto its album, a decision that could have changed R&B history forever. So lower the lights, turn the volume up, and let's take one more trip back to the decade that gave us some of the smoothest music ever recorded. If music has a way of taking you back to moments you'd almost forgotten, you're in the right place. Every week, we uncover the stories behind timeless R&B classics that deserve to be remembered, so you'll always have another reason to revisit the music that shaped a generation. I'm curious, which song instantly takes you back to a specific person or moment in your life? I'd love to read your story, because sometimes the memories behind the music are just as powerful as the songs themselves. If you could bring back one forgotten 90s R&B song that radio doesn't play anymore, which one would it be? There's a good chance your pick could appear in a future countdown. If this countdown brought back a memory you haven't thought about in years, consider passing it along to someone who lived through this era. That moment when you're wondering whether the other person feels the same way, when every conversation matters and every silence feels longer than it really is. I wanna make it good. I wanna make it good to you, baby. And this is one opportunity that Amel Larrieux's voice carried that uncertainty perfectly. She never sounded like she was performing. She sounded like she was confiding in someone she trusted. You got more appeal than any man in business. Tell me if you want me to. I want you to. I want you to. Producer Bryce Wilson kept the arrangement equally restrained. Soft drums, warm keyboards, subtle bass lines, and smooth grooves created space for the emotion instead of overwhelming it. When the single reached radio stations, listeners immediately noticed that it felt different. It wasn't trying to compete. It simply invited people to listen. The song climbed the charts and became the duo's signature hit. But its greatest achievement wasn't commercial success. It was longevity. I've been doing my own thing. Nearly 30 years later, Tell Me still feels fresh because it never followed a trend that eventually faded. Its influence can still be heard in the neo-soul movement that emerged later in the decade. Many younger artists have pointed to groove theory as proof that less can truly be more. For countless couples, this became the soundtrack to late-night conversations, first kisses, and long drives where nobody wanted the night to end. sometimes the quietest songs leave the loudest memories. But if Tell Me captured the excitement of new love, the next song understood something much harder. The fear of losing someone before you're ready to let them go. Not every love story ends with a slam door. Sometimes it ends with silence. The kind of silence where two people are standing in the same room, knowing that something beautiful is slipping away, yet neither one knows how to stop it. That's the feeling Before I Let You Go captured so perfectly. Released in 1994 on Blackstreet's self-titled debut album, the song showcased a side of the group that many fans didn't expect. While Blackstreet would later become known for energetic hits and polished productions, this record slowed everything down. It wasn't about flashy vocals or complicated arrangements, it was about honesty. The group had been formed by legendary producer Teddy Riley, one of the architects of the New Jack Swing movement. By the early 1990s, Riley had already transformed modern R&B, blending soulful melodies with hip-hop rhythms in ways that changed popular music forever. But with Before I Let You Go, he proved that restraint could be just as powerful as innovation. The song tells the story of someone standing at the edge of heartbreak. There's no anger, no shouting, no blame, just one final request. Before we walk away, before we become strangers, can we remember what brought us together in the first place? That simple idea resonated with listeners across America. It wasn't difficult to understand because almost everyone has lived through that moment. The conversation you wish would never end. The final hug that lasts just a little longer than usual. The realization that love sometimes disappears quietly instead of dramatically. The production reflected those emotions beautifully.
I know you feel it too, because you got an attitude.
Gentle keyboards floated underneath warm harmonies. The rhythm never rushed. Every pause seemed intentional, giving listeners room to sit with their own memories. Radio stations quickly embraced the song, especially during late-night Quiet Storm programming, where its smooth atmosphere fit perfectly. Couples requested it as a dedication. DJs played it during slow sets at parties. Wedding receptions often included it as one of the final dances of the evening. Over time, Before I Let You Go became much more than a successful single. It became part of people's personal histories. Years later, countless fans still describe hearing the opening chords and instantly remembering someone they once loved. That's the remarkable thing about truly great R&B. It doesn't simply remind you of the past, it briefly brings the past back to life. Even today, younger listeners continue discovering this. Song through streaming services and family playlists, proving that genuine emotion never really goes out of style. If you've ever heard this song at just the right moment in your life, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Was there someone this song always reminded you of? Sometimes music remembers people we thought we'd forgotten. And while Blackstreet asked one last question before saying goodbye, the next group on our list wasn't asking for anything complicated at all. They were simply asking for honesty. Real love isn't proven by grand speeches. It's revealed in the small choices people make every single day. With you. Music has a remarkable way of reconnecting people with moments they never want to lose. The beautiful thing about great R&B is that there's always another story waiting behind another song. If these memories mean as much to you as they do to us, I'd love for you to be here the next time we uncover another forgotten.
All around you, honey, and it's time that you start. Act like you're my baby, so baby, say it if you trust me. Do it.
They relied on something far more powerful, exceptional harmonies and emotional honesty. From the opening note, If You Love Me feels deeply personal. It isn't about dramatic romance or impossible expectations. Instead, it's a heartfelt conversation between two people trying to build something real. The message is timeless. If you
Run free, grab a hold and love me tonight. If you want me, if you're satisfied, if all the time
truly love someone, your actions should match your words. That idea may sound simple, but in the mid-1990s, it struck a chord with listeners across the country. The song was produced by the legendary duo Dave Hall and Gordon Chambers, who crafted a smooth arrangement that allowed Brownstone's voices to shine without distraction. Every harmony felt effortless. Rather than competing with one another,
I know you won't forget. No, feel alright tonight. Baby, just let me. I'll keep you satisfied.
the three singers blended into a single emotional voice, creating a sound that became their signature. When the single reached radio stations, audiences responded almost immediately. It climbed into the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 and became one of the defining R&B records of 1995. The song also earned Brownstone a Grammy nomination, introducing millions of listeners who had never heard their music before. Yet chart success only tells part of the story.
It's totally time we made love and I fantasize. Go with ease. Just
Its real impact happened far away from the spotlight. This became one of those songs couples played during anniversaries, engagement parties, and quiet evenings at home. Friends dedicated it to one another. People recovering from broken relationships found comfort in its lyrics because they reminded them that healthy love isn't about promises, it's about consistency. There's another reason the record has remained so beloved. Brownstone didn't oversing. They didn't rely on vocal gymnastics just to impress people. Instead, they sang with restraint, with warmth, with sincerity. That approach allowed listeners to focus on the emotion behind every lyric. Even decades later, younger artists continue studying Brownstone's harmonies as an example of how powerful vocal chemistry can be when every singer serves the song instead of trying to steal the spotlight. Sadly, Brownstone's journey would later be
to hear you call my name. Love me totally. Come on, somebody on fire or soothe your
marked by lineup changes and heartbreaking personal loss, making songs like If You Love Me even more meaningful to longtime fans. Today, hearing it feels like opening a photo album filled with memories. The hairstyles may belong to another decade, the fashion may have changed, but the emotions remain exactly the same.
On my mind. What you wanna do, baby, it's all good. It's driving me crazy.
That's why great R&B never grows old. It simply waits for someone to press play again. If this song reminded us that love is proven through actions, the next record reminds us that sometimes all you really want is for someone to open their heart and let you in. And for countless late-night radio listeners, no song captured that feeling better. There are songs that make you want to get up and dance. Then there are songs that make you stop whatever you're doing, just to listen. Come Inside belonged to the second group, released in 1993 by the New York-based trio Intro. The song arrived at a time when R&B was overflowing with talent. Every month seemed to bring another incredible group with smooth harmonies and polished vocals.
I guess it's all in my mind. Take it on my mind, and I can't get over you. Yeah, oh yeah.
You're on my mind, you're on my mind. Hey,
Standing out wasn't easy, but Intro wasn't interested in following every trend. They focused on something timeless: emotion. The group, made up of Kenny Green, Jeff Sanders, and Clinton Buddy Wyke, had a chemistry. That couldn't be manufactured. Their voices fit together naturally, creating harmonies that sounded effortless instead of rehearsed. At the center of it all was Kenny Green. Not only was he an extraordinary vocalist, but he was also an exceptional songwriter.
Where I'll stop only you know you. Every little thing I do, every little thing I do, you're on my mind, you're on my mind.
He understood that the strongest love songs didn't need complicated lyrics. Sometimes the simplest words carried the deepest emotions. Come Inside isn't built around dramatic declarations or impossible promises. Instead, it's an invitation to trust, to be vulnerable, to lower the walls we've all built after being hurt. That message connected deeply with listeners. Because almost everyone has reached a point where they wanted someone to truly know them. Not the version they showed the world, but the person behind it. Musically, the production was beautifully understated. Gentle keyboards floated under warm bass lines while percussion kept everything moving without rushing the moment. Nothing felt forced. Every note gave Kenny Green's voice room to breathe. And what a voice it was. Rich, soulful, honest. He didn't sing at the listener. He sang to them. That's one reason the song became a quiet storm favorite across America. Late at night, when the day's noise had finally faded, DJs would play Come Inside, and suddenly the room felt a little calm. For many couples, this wasn't just another slow jam. It became their song. It played during anniversaries, during first dances, during long conversations that stretched into the early hours of the morning.
Oh yes, you were with someone else. Something ain't right. No, I'm letting you go your way.
Sadly, Kenny Green's life was cut tragically short in 2001 at just 36 years old. His passing left an enormous void in R&B. Many fans often wonder what more he might have created had he lived longer. Yet through songs like Come Inside, his voice continues to speak to new generations discovering 90s R&B for the very first time.
How we do our thing. And to the ladies in the house, here we go. Do it one for the money.
The production, handled with the polished sound that defined mid-90s R&B, wrapped Brown's vocals in rich keyboards, crisp drums, and a bass line that seemed to glide effortlessly from beginning to end. Everything about the song felt sophisticated without becoming complicated.
We do it, we do it one for the money. It's gonna be an after party, and I got to have somebody.
It earned strong airplay on urban radio stations and became Brown's biggest hit, introducing him to audiences across the United States. Although he never reached the superstar status of some of his contemporaries, his work gained something equally valuable: respect. Ask
Tonight is looking fly, you got it right. Way to get the honeys. Right, let's go, yeah. In the bed.
devoted R&B fans about Horace Brown today, and you'll often see the same reaction. A smile, a nod, then a story about where they were when they first heard the song. That's the difference between a forgotten hit and a forgotten artist. The song may no longer dominate the airwaves, but the people who loved it have never truly let it go.
Just to pay the rent, all the money spent, have to get another job.
As streaming services introduce younger generations to hidden gems from the 1990s, One for the Money found a second life. Listeners who missed it the first time began discovering why longtime fans spoke about it with such admiration. Sometimes music doesn't need to become the biggest hit of the year to leave a lasting mark. Sometimes all it needs is one unforgettable melody and one honest performance. Horace Brown gave us both. Did this song take you back to a specific place? Maybe a neighborhood barbecue, a long summer drive, or someone whose smile you haven't thought about in years. That's the quiet power of great R&B. It doesn't force memories to return. It simply opens the door. And suddenly, they're standing right in front of you. We've reached the final stretch of our countdown now. The next 3 songs aren't just memorable. For many fans, they're essential. And coming up next is a beautiful record from 3 extraordinary women whose harmonies still have the power to stop you in your tracks. Some songs never needed huge chart success to become fan favorites. I Like is one of them. Produced by Keith Sweat, the trio delivered a smooth, heartfelt performance that celebrated the excitement of finding someone who simply made life better. Their rich harmonies and sincere delivery made the song feel personal rather than overly polished. It became a quiet storm favorite and remains a hidden gem among devoted 90s R&B fans. Even today, its warm production and timeless melody make it a song worth rediscovering. If this one reminds us of the excitement of new romance, the next song takes us into one of the most recognizable slow jams